Excellent choice. More laughter is fine.
Okay.
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 G'day and welcome to another live episode of my show here on my channel. Today I wanted to take you a look in some of what you're seeing there in the pre-roll of something that I recorded in this studio space a week ago. As the pandemic recedes, we've been able to get back together in person and taking masks off and that kind of stuff. And it's been great to collaborate with some of my people. So I had a couple of, like a music director and a musician and an actor coming in to do sort of experimental musical narrative piece. So I'm going to show you through some of that because all of that was achieved within this studio space, which is really only about 8 feet by about 15 feet. So what we've been able to do was shape the light and also position them in a way where we could get an auto cue up, where we could have a full keyboard in there and just get some like that circular pattern of light that you saw. So, and then using PTZ cameras and stuff from the rig, we've been able to get all of the stands and stuff out of the way to fit everything into this space. But in the meantime, happy Valentine's Day. It is the 14th of February, so I hope you're having a good Valentine's Day wherever you are in the world. I'm going to start by bringing up, let me see if I can jump over to my studio setup here. I'll play you a bit of this. I'm just going to mute it and jump across here. All right, so this was, I'm just going to scrub around a bit because this is not a finished piece, but I do want to show you some of the things that we had going on here. Come in close here, cool. All right, so what we had was a musician here performing, and I've got this spotlight effect, which is an Aputure mini spotlight, which is probably a 15-foot throw, and then I've got the narrator who is sitting further upstage, and there's another PTZ shooting across, and so the point of this is I can get him looking into the auto cue for his narrated bits, and then I can get that camera to whip around and get a few more shots while we're doing the presenter there. So it's around about, how do we start? We start about here. So these moves, all of this was shot using 2 PTZ cameras. So I've preset these positions, and then I'm automating a certain amount of time to go from that wide shot into the tight. He's starting his piece. and then I'll dissolve across to the next camera, which is beginning its movement from a wide shot here and then moving across to the musician. So this meant that we could actually achieve all of this in a small space with essentially 2 crew. We had a music director who was also doing auto cue, and then myself who was doing cameras and switching and getting all this all down. So even though we were just pre-recording this, it was something that we could have gone live with this as everything was sort of mixed and done live. So it's a nice way to like fit into a small space, as well as just getting some really steady camera movements here. And I'll just pause it here. So what I was doing, I'll give him a better frame. What I wanted to do with some of the lighting here was making sort of a high contrast. So I've got an Aputure 60X, which is coming in from sort of 45 degrees here, so that you get this sort of checkerboard effect of like a black space and then a light space and then more shadow and then more light space over here. And we're going for high contrast, sort of black and white, even though it's not actually black and white. Didn't have quite enough depth here to sort of move them back away from the wall. But that is what we're working with in the nature of the space. So he is narrating off a auto cue, and it's sort of interplaying between his storytelling and her songs. And I've got 2 cameras there to be able to do that. I did one of the challenges I had. You'll see here on this this little reflection here. We had I'll just scrub across to about here. There we go. That's actually the reflection of the spotlight coming down, hitting the keys and bouncing off onto the backboard, and we couldn't quite fix that. That was just kind of what it was. And yeah, it's just one of the things we had to roll with, so it sort of broke that sort of perfect circle. Here you'll see I've moved off onto him to sort of come back to him in the narrative. And I really like this particular angle. I'll just pause that here. So this was from the camera at the back of the room, was getting the front-on shot of the musician, but then could also pull aside, so you get this nice profile shot where you've got this sort of silhouette lighting across his face, and it just was kind of a little more abstract and artistic, and I kind of liked the way that enabled him to just sort of be the narrator and sit in his own space there. And then, yeah, so then he's got his second angle here that I can cut back to. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna go over to some of these ones. Give me a pause here. I'm just gonna turn on this audio.
Yeah, let's see.
Just gonna pause that and go to my VLC. All right, I'll just play through some of this and talk you through some of the studio setup that we have here. If you have any questions as we go along, pop them into the comments and I can answer that. And also if you've got any comments more broadly at, just in terms of Companion or some of the other live streaming stuff, let me know and I can answer that after I've gone through this bit. All right, give me a second here. Cool, all right. So what we've got here in the studio is I've got a sort of control room panel multi-view set up here. I've got an auto cue down here. As I mentioned, there was an auto cue. It's just behind here. I'll show you that in a bit. And then he's sitting here against this white wall to get that contrast. And then we've staged the musician further back in the stage. I've actually not, at this point, this is before we got rolling, and there's a white background that has not been dropped down yet. He's got a 416 microphone up here for his narration. Pause here again. So I'm sitting here with my Stream Deck console, and that's what I'm doing the switching from and controlling the cameras. And then we have this multi-view that I've set up. I'll show you that in more detail at one point. And then I've got a Livetrak L8, which is recording the stereo line of the keyboard in, her vocals, and then again, this 416 Sennheiser shotgun is picking up the narration. So that's all being recorded as a mix. So we could go live, but we're also doing a pre-record. So it was something that Graham, the music director, is music mixing at the moment, just to kind of sweeten that mix. And then even though we've got a live cut, we may go back in and add in some things over the top of that. All right, continue on here.
Okay, so if you have a look at the audio
We've got, up here you'll see at the very top here, we've got a bit of a lighting rig happening. I've got some Varipoles, which is just tension between the walls. I think they go from around about 7 feet to maybe 12 feet or something. This studio space is about 8 feet across, so it's sort of working at their more minimum width here, but that's really handy to be able to just move a pole around. If we needed to drop something down, we could just like retension it and move it further down if we needed a light lower down. Cool.
Maybe a little lower while he's talking.
All right, Rifki on the keys.
Are you going to
Looking back here, we've got Jack, who is the writer. And you'll see the auto cue set up here. So we've got Graham, who is controlling the auto cue. At one point, we did actually give it to Cody, the actor. But in the end, we figured we would run the auto cue so he could just focus more on the performance of it. So that's being controlled off this computer, and that's actually being fed into the ATEM Mini Extreme, which is down here. And then that is routing out of HDMI 1 into this teleprompter here so that the actor Cody can read the script, but then that's also being mirrored out to this screen so that Rivki, the musician, can just see the end of his paragraph coming off, so she knows when she's going to when she knows like we're going to hand off. Because so the structure of this piece was she had like 5 different songs of hers, and then we've got Jack, who's written a narrative that is sort of shaped around that, and Cody's performing that. So there's a lot of throw between the narrator and the musician here. Just let me check a comment here. Peter, be good for later. We'd love to run down comments, extreme profiles. Okay, I'll come back to that later, Peter. Okay, so then that's for her view, but then as I continue to play this through,
cut that and have him come right in at.
No, that's such an interesting.
and there's me moving on to camera there with my iPhone.
Pause.
And then what you'll see here is I've set up the ATEM Mini Extremes multi-view out with a very simplified view. Basically, I've only got 2 cameras, so I'm just switching between preview and program. So I want that as big as possible, and then I'm using the lower quadrant to have the auto cue there. So for myself as well, I want to get a copy of that so I can see, you've got the narrator here, and then it goes on to song. And so that just gives me a little bit of a heads up in terms of like, okay, if they're saying, yes, into finance your life, my dear, use the money you don't have, I know that I'm going to be I need to get my camera 1 into position my camera 2 into position to pick up the musician. And so it just helps me with the timing between the 2 cameras there. And then down here, I've got PTZ 2 and 1. I had them reversed just in terms of where they were physically placed in the room. And then monitoring audio and then monitoring the recording, because that's obviously important, because you don't want to do a whole session and then realize you're not actually recording anything.
My life is lyric. I loved
Which is ironic.
All right, so this is my console here for when I was actually doing the show. I'd set up Companion to be so something I'm building on at the moment is PTZ controls. So I've got PTZ 1, 2, 3, and I was just using 2 cameras, and you'll notice there's a tally light that will follow it. So this is PTZ 1 is on preview, PTZ 2 is on program here. And the advantage of that is that I could just have these 2 consoles here, and I've got all of these presets. So I've got input 1, recall 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I will put in 9 at some point. And then I've gone in and I've labeled them. So I've got both of them on a wide shot. I've got Cody, which is a talent, on a mid, and then I got a tight, and then I've got Rivki, the musician, wide, mid-tight. So these are all my preset positions in terms of exposure, a lot to do with like framing and zoom. And then here I've got different drive speeds. So normal is a drive speed where it's just going to recall it straight away. So if I was on this position, and I can do this on my camera here, if I have, let's go repo, and I can go between my, it's just going to go fast like that, so I can quickly reframe, and so that's where I need to be able to switch between these modes, so that if I'm in tight on the performer and I need to reposition that other camera to get back to the narrator, then I can hit that drive mode. So I go reposition quickly and then switch it back over to, there's either a speed mode or a time mode. So I could put on a slow speed so it does those slow zoom in, or I could go from one performer to the next. So that's how those positions are being recalled, and then also switching between them. And I've got, where are we? Yeah, so these lights will actually show me the last recalled position here. So I know that at a glance, I can look down and go, okay, camera 2 is on air and it's on this position, but I'm on the speed mode, which is fast. So I'd have to change that to a slow mode. And then when I hit 2, it would do a slow zoom in to the next position. So once I had a couple of runs of this, I sort of, it becomes a bit more of like physical memory rather than trying to like think about it and conceptually do it. And then this red dot here is showing me what's in tally for these other cameras. So even if you didn't have 2 Stream Decks, you could have 1 Stream Deck and just flick between these different cameras. And then down here, I know this is a bit overexposed, but I've got a cut auto button. So if I hit that, it'll go cut between camera 1 and 2. Or if I hold it down, it'll go auto. So it'll do a transition between the two of them. I'm going to continue on.
You enjoyed it. Do you know, when you were making jokes and enjoyed it? Say, love the laugh.
Okay, that was a good choice. Okay, good.
Excellent choice. More laughter is fine.
Okay.
If you want to do it one more time.
And then this was the auto cue. So looking straight ahead, that's what the actor would see. And if I come around here, you'll see that's where, by lifting up this side of the auto cue, I can actually get, zoom out a bit here, I can actually pick up another shot of the performer. So I'm using that camera to work extra hard for me in terms of picking up close-ups of keys and stuff like that. And then also here you'll see I've got power and control coming in this LAN port here, and then I'm actually using HDMI out because it's going to get better quality than, like you can do NDI HX out of here, so I could do everything through the one cable, but it's going to be 8-bit rather than 10-bit, so I've got the video coming out of HDMI, plus also that Extreme is just sitting like right below it, so it doesn't really matter in terms of running a cable very far. And then this is actually on another day, but this is where I have my MacBook is set up under the table, and it's running everything through 2 Thunderbolt ports that are in there. All right. Give me a second, guys. It looks like where are we? Looks like my H2R has crashed. So I'm just going to start that again. Let me have a look. Connect to that. Get the control panel up. Social. There we go. Back up. It did this last time. It did this last week too. So I don't know if it freezes up on for some reason. But let's go back here. Can do my slow zoom out here. So this is what you can do with the PTZ cameras. I've got my tight shot here, and then I'm going back to a wide shot. So what I've got is, and Jordan, it didn't work. Bring this on again. All right, it's as I've mentioned in previous streams, I'm running this through my Pi, which is why these graphics are a bit cut out. So I'm gonna work on that to some degree. But what teleprompter am I using? I'm using one from Amazon. Let me see if I can find this for you. What are we going to go? Mac 1, cut across. Okay. Auto cue. I think it's like, I should probably see my orders. It's not a very expensive one. It was about 100 and, auto cue or teleprompter? There's one of it. I'll put it in the notes after I've done it. I guess I could find it in my orders somewhere. But what I like about it is, let me just come back over here, is it's something that can be moved around a bit. So I'm going to go off mic a bit here, so hopefully you'll still hear me. All right, hopefully you can hear me because I'm speaking off mic here. But it's like 160 bucks, and the good thing about it is that I can actually lift this flap up and use this to shoot off with the PTZ cameras. And then under here, it's got the whole, it's got this rod system that I can actually put it into other things. So when I'm shooting on, it's going to come around here again. Sorry, guys. So when you're all plugged in here, it's got that whole rod system. So it means that, like, if I'm shooting with my cinema camera, for example, I can actually put it onto, and I've got my like cinema camera on a rig already, then I can sort of slot that onto the front of it. There's other teleprompters that I think are a bit more like, you know, this kind of thing where you've got to mount the camera onto a special plate. So what I liked about this one that I've got here is that it could be something which I could use the sort of the rod system. So yeah, and then the screen is a Lilliput. I think it's like Lilliput 10-inch. 10-inch, something like that. I think it's this one. It could be something else. Something like that. Yeah, that looks about right. So it's about 250. Actually, it might have been a bit more. I got the one with SDI. I recommend you get SDI. It just gives you that flexibility. You'll be on set one day and you need to plug in SDI, and if you've only got HDMI, it'll be a bit of a pain. Yeah, so go grab that. Okay. All right, so what do you reckon, guys? Any thoughts on the layout that you saw here? I particularly liked, I like the Varipoles. I think that has given me the most flexibility and just like hanging things from the ceiling. So even my setup today, just cut back to this. You know, I've got things clamped from, where are we? From the air duct down here. I've got my key light, which is coming off here. So it's just enabled me to get things off the ground so that if I look at the studio around here, it's just all clear. I've got this background. I've got a light onto that just to fill that out. And it means that in a small space, I can make the most of that. And then, yes, of course, I've got the overhead camera as well that I've moved back. So that was actually at the other end of the studio, up here. So what I was able to do was I've got this Aputure spotlight, which was clamped to this shelf here because it's a bit heavier. But then this Varipole over here, this one, I just slotted that one in, and then I was hanging this camera. Where did it go? Well, there we were. This one I was hanging from that other end of the room, and it just meant that we could, you know, come in the door there and not have to worry about a tripod or anything like that. So, yeah, highly recommend getting Varipoles. They're only, I mean, there's Manfrotto ones that are $200 to $300, but I think the impact ones from B&H are about $170 or something. Martin says, I read somewhere that the image coming out of the Canon CR N300 PTZs are indistinguishable using them in a multi-cam session alongside the more expensive XF705 camcorder units. I haven't tried that camera, so I wouldn't be able to compare or speak to that, but one of the reasons I bought Canon PTZs was probably just brand loyalty, to be honest. I think, because all my other 5D Mark IV and the R5C, which is coming, C200, all that kind of stuff is Canon, so the menus are similar. I think sort of their image processing is quite similar, and the face tracking and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I kind of went the Canon PTZ route. It just seemed more cohesive as a system where I'm also using things like a C200 or an R5C. Yeah, so I'm not sure if that is correct, but I would imagine to some degree, yeah, if you're using Canon PTZs with Canon cameras, it's probably a similar sort of image processing. Jordan wants to know what shotgun that is. That is the legendary Sennheiser 416. Sennheiser 416. If you just Google that, let's go to where are we? Amazon again. Onto, yeah, Amazon for, here we go. So it's around about $1,000. This is maybe a little bit cheaper on Amazon. B&H has been about pretty much $1,000 flat, but it's great. I've got that, and I've got a Sanken one for on-camera stuff. Let me go to up here and zoom out a bit. So what I've got that on is I don't know what that is. I think it's a Rycote shock mount thing. And then I've got an Ore boom pole, which is running that wire up there and then down and then into my mixer board here. So it's coming into the Zoom Livetrak, and it's using the 48 Phantom power here to bring me into my mixer for today. But that is, I reckon that's one of the best sort of field voice microphone that you can get, because it's going to cut out a lot of noise and be very directional. So yeah, I recommend getting that if you've got $1,000. But the thing with that is it's the sort of thing that you'll use until it breaks, I guess, which I don't know, should be 20 years or something. I mean, similar to like the way I've designed my camera system originally around the EF lenses, although I guess they're all going RF, is like I've got lenses that are going on 12 years or more now. So, and some of them are not good. But I've used them until they don't work anymore, whereas camera bodies seem to change over every sort of 3 years. Yeah. Hans from Holland, good to see you. Welcome to the show. What else we got? Any more comments, guys, on all this stuff? Anything that you saw on the show in terms of the way that we rigged this? I mean, I was impressed with us being able to get 5 people and a whole kind of live show into, I don't know what the square footage is, but as I said, it's like 8 by 15 feet. Yeah, Martin says, is the microSD card slot on the back of the PTZs for recording footage? I don't think so. I think it is probably more of a service port. As far as I'm aware, they're just streaming. Like they'll send an image out via SDI, HDMI, NDI HX, which is the more compressed version of NDI, and also, I'm not sure about the 500, but I think the 300 does USB out, so you could plug it in as a USB webcam. I did that once and I don't know, the specs didn't seem like it was very good quality. But it does work well in terms of bringing that into either into the ATEM via HDMI or via NDI. So what I've got is, let me see, 192, what is it at? I think it's 111. Yeah, so here using this Magwell Pro Convert, I can actually get a source into the PTZ, and then so that's a little box that is converting the NDI signal to HDMI, and then under 192 under my camera, which is 102, that's where you can also see what's the view from number 2, and under settings, where are we? System, video, streaming. It's going to be sending NDI, which is under, where is that? So many things going on here. NDI, somewhere in there. Can't seem to find it. Still getting my way around that. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think you can. All right, so I had a question from last week, which I'm going to run through quickly, which was, let me find my notes here. I don't have it on graphics, but I can just show. So Roto Makara wrote, in your next show, please talk about separating in-house and live stream audio mix using the setup of an ATEM Mini Pro, a laptop audio mixer like the Zoom Livetrak L12 or L8. I've got the L8. And what's your advice on getting a mix minus? This is Roto from Melbourne. So I did actually have, I have something. Let me cut over here. Yeah, so I'd done this like a while ago and I never actually presented this, but this was like how to do a mix minus. Bring myself up a bit more here. See if we can get through this because it can be a little confusing. So let's just say, here's me, live streamer on a laptop, and what I have is my camera plugged into HDMI 1 of my ATEM Mini Pro or Extreme or whatever. And in this setup, I wanted to do a Zoom call with someone who is remote, as seen here by this gray shading. So you're probably familiar with this in terms of using a USB-C out of the ATEM into your laptop as a webcam, and then that being the source that's being sent back out to the person on the other end of the Zoom. But in this scenario, what I was actually trying to do was, how do I do like a live edit session? So I'm wanting the computer audio, in this case, this is like Resolve's timeline. How am I going to get that back so that my remote person can hear the audio as we're doing an edit together over Zoom? So this is the process to set up a mix minus, which is similar if you're trying to do a conference or some sort of video playback. In this instance, I was just using Resolve. So what I had was a camera on me going into input 1 so that the person can see me. And then in input 3, I had a timeline view of just like what we're working on, so we can sort of move clips around and see it together. And then on HDMI 4, I'd had like a clean output so that I can always cut to the program and be able to see that. So they were the video sources that were coming in off the laptop. HDMI 2 didn't have anything in it. And then you bring in the scenario of like, how do we make a mix minus? And we're going to use this L8 sound mixer, which is a Zoom Livetrak mixer and recorder. So you can actually isolate the recording in there as well, which is really neat, to an SD card. And so in this instance, what I want is for us to be able to hear each other and also to hear the source. So, you know, the video playback or the resolve edit timeline, but I don't want her to hear herself. So I need to find a way so that I can route the audio so that I'm hearing her, I'm hearing myself as I am at the moment, just so I can make sure that my audio is good. And I also want to hear the audio that we're working on or that we're playing back so that we're on the same page and that we can hear that. But she's obviously hearing herself talk, and so she only needs to hear myself and the resolve audio playback. So to do that, what we're going to do is her audio is coming into the computer and then via USB is being fed straight into this deck here. And if I go to, I can probably show you actually. Oh, it's going to go real slow. Let's bring this across. And yeah, I have a mixer here. Here we go. So with the Livetrak L8, you've got this input 7 and 8, but input 7 I'm using here to bring in the computer audio. So what you were hearing at the start of this show was actually the computer audio being played back in here. And then on this channel, you'll see the levels peaking as I'm speaking. And then this mix is being sent to, out of mix A is being sent to the ATEM. And then I've actually got another line coming back in, which I'm not sending out. So from the ATEM, I've got that headphone line coming back into this deck on this line, and I've marked it red so that I don't move it. And if I jump over to my mix C, you'll see this little red dot here is showing that my microphone here and my computer audio are killed, even though they're setting up here. And then you'll see as I talk, this mix is coming back in. So you've got, this is the ATEM mix, remember? This is downstream. And that on mix C is where this little red dot is. And so what I can do is my headphones are plugged into this output here on mix C, and I can either listen to the master, which is keeping me in sync. So, and I've got an earpiece. Let me just come back over here. I've got like an in-ear thing just so I can keep an eye on what audio is going out. Last week I didn't do that, and I was starting the show, and then I was like, in my head, I was like, wait, I haven't stopped the music play out, and there's like music playing under it. So this week I was like, all right, gotta put the earpiece in. So let me cut back here. So under mix C, that just enables me to, without unplugging the headphone out, just to flick between hearing this. And so you won't be able to hear this at the moment, but what I'm hearing is actually got like a 2-second delay on it, because by the time it goes into the ATEM and then back out, it has got sort of that HDMI processing on it, delays it. But it means that I can actually listen to my voice and just sort of make sure that there's no interference or weird channels that are open and that kind of stuff, if I just want to check that and then go back. But for the most part, what I'm doing is just leaving this on the master, because that means that I'm actually listening to my own voice in real time in sync, so I don't get that weird, you know, that like delayed effect where your voice is slightly behind, and then whenever I hear that, I cannot think. Like I just sort of go like this, and then what? You know, like I go really, really slow. Okay, so what we're going to do on this to get the mix minus is a similar sort of thing where we're going to be sending a mix out of here that, I'm going to go back up to my master, so that what we're sending back to our Zoom recorder, which is out of this deck and into the ATEM, is going to be minus her voice. So in the mix, that's where we would drop her voice out of it. All right, let's see if we can continue on with this presentation. So we're also getting an XLR in, which, you know, at this point I've just showed that on the camera. And then we're getting a mix of this back to the headphones. That's what I'm listening to. So I can hear all three, myself, the playback, and her. And then we're sending this mix minus out of here into the 3.5mm stereo input, which is not ideal. It's like, this is the sort of thing where this can send out a balanced master signal, but the ATEM only has unbalanced audio in. So the other way would be to send the balanced signal back into the main camera, into the XLR. So if I was shooting this on my C200, I would probably route that back in, and then the audio is going to be in sync with the video. But because in this studio setup I'm using the PTZ cameras, they do also have like a 3.5mm stereo input. So that would at least get around the input problem of, the latency problem of like the 2-frame delay. But I prefer to just go straight into the ATEM and then do the delay internally within the ATEM itself. So that's coming in to the ATEM, and then it's coming out the program USB-C, and is going to go back into the computer, and then she's going to hear just that mix of it without me in there. All right, so that's how you do it. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know on that sort of brief overview of, get these cameras moving. Yeah, there we go. On that brief overview of how to do a mix minus. I'm just going to jump back into my comments here. Okay, we've got a couple of Shyam Gupta from India. Namaste to you as well. Welcome. John is a little late, but he's here at the party. It's always good to have you, John. Martin says, have you used PTZs on a gig or a conference, etc. yet? Yes, I have. So probably the main one that comes to mind is we were doing a big internal thing for Samsung last year, which was, with the pandemic, it was people couldn't go over to Korea to do the showroom for all of the new products coming out. So instead they brought them to their headquarters, and a little bit like the UN, everyone was spaced out because they're wearing masks. So they're 6 feet apart. So everyone had to be mic'd within the room. So we've got 10 to 30 people in a room. And then we had video playback, and also to sort of limit the number of crew and people in there, we had one crew person, but then we had also 2 PTZ cameras, and I had a remote PTZ camera operator sitting alongside me who could be basically pulling up shots as people are speaking around the room. So the challenge was that, it's all unscripted. So someone just starts speaking in the back of the room, and we've got it on the PTZ camera, on a wide, and then we're using a second camera to whip around and find them and punch in, get the shot, and then cut across to put that live. Added to which it was also a hybrid conference. So we had people who were remote guests joining in. So we had to, and that's where the mix minus actually became very important, because the program audio from the room that was going out needed to be the same device, so that we didn't get echo through the room, which was a challenge when you got that many microphones open and you're trying to just sort of limit who's speaking in terms of the microphones, but also just having it live and following it around. So there was a bit of a technical lift in terms of getting all the particularly the audio side of it is just making sure that there's no feedback within the room, and latency problems with WebEx is what we were using. But the PTZ cameras were really great because we could find certain shots. So you have a wide shot, and I had on, let me pull up on this one. If I go over to my PTZ 2, I think I had it on, where are we? Here we go. Yeah, so this is my Stream Decks at the moment. I'm still sort of rebuilding this and changing it around a bit, but I've got PTZ 1 and PTZ 2, and what you might sort of see here is that, and you can't really see it because on the multi-view, but as I'm clicking on each camera, it's actually loading that into preview, so I could jump over to it. I'm just going to go to, so if I had multiple, where are we? PTZ 1, PTZ 2. So this one's showing PTZ 1, This one's showing PTZ 2. So if I, so I think if I cut across, that's not actually going to help. You might see a little bit of a delay as I go across. Maybe, not really. I could probably set up, let me see if I can set up my other camera to get the multi-view, because I don't have that otherwise hooked in. Give me a second. I'm just going to get that. Okay, hopefully this doesn't fall over. Okay. I'm using my iPhone here. All right, it's a bit of a weird shot, but that is my multi-view that I'm looking up here. But I wanted to be able to sort of show you the with the PTZ. So you'll see here it's green, and as I'm going across, it's changing what's going into the preview. So I can just select a camera, and then I could hit a preview, I could repo it. So if I go, see how that punched in there on me? So I could find the shot, and then I could set up the drive speed. So maybe I want to do like a 10-second shot from point 1 to point 2, and I would go, so starting to do that like 10-second zoom in on me. So that's where you can like start to program moves. But for this conference, you know, it's just like people talking. So it was really just like on this repo normal position as quick as possible. We want to like find them, pull up the shot, and then cut across so that we can get them on camera as soon as possible. So yeah, I mean, it gets kind of fun when you're working with your team, and like the teamwork in terms of, as a director switching, you're calling up shots, and you know, like find me camera 2, like, you know, get a 2-shot or a wide shot or something, and then the remote camera operator being able to like just deliver those shots. There's a certain amount of performance aspect to it, I guess, which can keep it interesting when it's, you know, sort of like conference material, but sort of like executing that well and getting those shots delivered up quickly is interesting. Yeah. Cool. Next one, from France. Thanks to H2R Discord, I saw the event. Yes, Discord is great. If you guys aren't on John Barker's H2R Discord channel, I recommend that you do that. He's actually got a live stream coming up. So I've put my live stream at 11, so that there's we'll finish at 12, and then you'll have an hour to go get some lunch and then come back and watch John's channel. But if you haven't been in there yet, go do that, because, sorry, I'm just loading up this. Now you're hearing all the little blip blips. Hang on a second. I mean, you guys know what Discord looks like, but I will just give a shout out to him because I think it's great. If you go into Discord, he's got a whole bunch of stuff that he's covering, like NAB and IBC, all of his H2R stuff, like gear and graphics versions 1 and 2, and his layouts. And then there's a bunch of topics in here: audio, cloud production, editing, graphics, live streaming, setups, sport. Really great community in here. So if you're looking to sort of up your live streaming game, this is where you can ask questions. You can ask questions about, you know, the ATEM, and just if you got any questions about hardware, I mean, 3D printing, that's totally beyond me. Cameras, lighting, networking, Raspberry Pi, and then software questions, you know, DaVinci Resolve, NDI, vMix, and then under off topic, you can just like post something fun and chat about it. Yes, I did see this little Canon PowerShot pic. It's showing up in all of my ads, and it's, I don't know, I don't understand it. It's kind of weird. It's like this $500 camera that, and it feels like too expensive for who it is. What do you got here? Martin says, are the PTZ companion profiles available for purchase as we speak? They are not yet. I am working on that. What I'm trying to do is, as I was showing you before, let me just pull this off. Okay, so what I'm trying to build out is, and I'd be interested in your feedback too, which is how many cameras do you guys use? I mean, I've only at the moment got 2 PTZs, but I'm looking at like building out something that would do 6 PTZs. So the idea is that I've got inputs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the cameras would be matched correspondingly up to 6, I'm thinking. And under PTZ, you're going to have cameras 1 and 2 across to 6. As you can see, I haven't quite matched this up. I'm mostly working on camera 1 at the moment. And what I'm building in is things like long presses so that you've got, I can recall, let me go to PTZ 2 and put it on repo. So we've got 0.2, 0.3, like I was saying before with the drive, you could put it on a slow drive, put on 10 seconds and take 10 seconds to get from, you know, for example, 0.3 back to 0.2. You'll see over here. And then, like if I look at this, it doesn't look quite right in terms of the framing, so I'm going to move this up. Maybe I want to come out a bit. And that's right, if I long press this, that's now saved that position. So if I go to 3, it's going to pull that up. See how 3 was off, like I don't move this or something. If I go back to 2, then it's remembered that. So it just makes it very easy. It's kind of like programming a car radio. You can just, you know, hit the button to recall it or long press it to save that position that you're in. So I'm going to have like 9 presets there, some drive control across here, some manual control here, which is like slow and fast. So you could do things manually, like you could actually, you know, do a slow pan and move up and zoom out like that kind of thing. Or you could turn on to fast so that you can like just quickly, you know, find the position that you want to do it. I'm just going to go back to 2, recall that position. And then this set button is going to have, and I haven't built it yet, but it's going to, you know, all of the exposure and the focus and all that kind of stuff back across there. So that's what I'm working towards in terms of building that out for 6 cameras. You know, let me know if you need 6 cameras. You know, if you don't need 6 cameras, then having like 3 cameras obviously makes more space available across here, just in the design of it. Yeah, and then initially I was going to put like the camera selection up the top, but I feel like along the bottom is better in terms of physically matching what I've got here in terms of selecting 1, 2, and selecting 1, 2. So that kind of, that's where my thinking is with that at the moment. Be interested to know your thoughts on that. But I like PTZ cameras. I'm all in on PTZ cameras because I like that they're always on. So if I'm doing a live stream, I don't have to fluff around setting up my cinema camera. And when you're doing stuff solo, like when it's just you switching and talking and all that kind of stuff, then having those presets and being able to recall them or ones that are mounted above really helps. And it's kind of like having a camera operator in your setup here. What else we got? John is loving his new DJI RS2 doubling up as a poor man's PTZ. I'd be interested to see that, John. I think, like I think I was saying last week, I haven't actually updated my gimbal, but I think you could probably get some sort of functionality out of that as a sort of PTZ camera. And at some point I will buy a gimbal just for like field work and that kind of stuff. Jordan uses the 400S Pro and a plant 4 of them in the room so that they just come up in HDMI wirelessly. Yeah, that's I'm assuming, Jordan, you say you're using the PTZs wirelessly so that you can just sort of place them down. I assume like plug in power, they do have Wi-Fi, so I guess you could do control over Wi-Fi without having to run a cable across the room. I've sort of gone the route of an Ethernet cable. So I've got a Netgear 120 watt 8-port PoE hub, and so that cable is going out up to the rig or to the other end of the room or to this camera here, and that is doing control and power, and it's also doing the video back. So that's how I was getting the Madrigal NDI, converting that signal back to HDMI to bring it into the ATEM Extreme there. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you, John. TV studio in a box. It is, yeah. I guess what I was showing you guys before in terms of that console. Let me just bring up VLC again. Where was it? Studio wide. Back to cut across. I'll just mute this. Yeah, this is my studio in a box. If I cut wide here again. I've been really happy with how I mean, I guess when you get a space too, something to always look for is height, because if you look at these ceilings, I don't know what that is, but that's about 8 foot there. So that's probably 11, 12, maybe 12 feet, I'm guessing, because that is actually a bit higher up here. And this volume up here is really important. Partly it acts as a lung, I guess. So there's like certain airflow that's happening up there, so that, you know, it's not like the heat is not sitting down here, it's sitting up here. And then having these poles up high just means that like I can walk under these lights. It's not actually on at the moment. And I mean, I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'5", so to be able to just like walk around and not have any stands on the ground or lights hitting me in the head is really nice. And so yeah, within a 8 by 15 foot space, I've been able to fit this all in. You know, it's like stacking stuff up to the roof as high as you can go. And this desk that I've got here is on wheels, so it can just be moved around. And that's my sort of design of how I'm utilizing that space. And turning it into the TV studio. That's the sort of like mini, very, very mini TV console thing where you've got a auto cue and being able to switch it. So at the moment, like this desk, I've moved back over here, and then this auto cue, I've swung it out and it's pointing this way. I think I really need to get John's, not John's, but John was demonstrating the telestrator. I need to get that kind of thing set up for this channel. How I imagine 2 different streams. I don't know if you mean live streaming, because I think I'm just doing one live stream, but, oh, okay, here we go. How are you imagining 2 different stream decks talking to cameras individually? That's a good question. What it is let's go PTZ 2 and repo and what am I doing? 1? Yeah, something like that. Okay, so what he's talking about is I've got 2 stream decks that are plugged into Companion. Essentially, this probably comes back to how Companion works. So let me go to that, which is, if I go to my surfaces, I've got an emulator, which if I click that, I'll have this virtual console. That's the surface. And then each of my stream decks have individual serial numbers, and they're showing up. So when I click on a button, this is actually going, that's not a good example. They've got actions in here, which is saying set, and this is fairly generic here. So you can go set the current surface, or I could say set specifically this deck, but I don't need to go that granular. I can just say set this surface, whatever button I'm pushing, to be page 4, for example. So my home page here is going to jump over to the menu page. So for example, that's what I can have. My Stream Deck 1 is independent of Stream Deck 2. So to control the cameras, at the moment I've got my cameras on page 62. So PTZ 1 has got its page, and then I've got like a settings page, which is a mess, and I'm working on that. And then PTZ 2 is going to be very similar. It's not fully built yet either, and PTZ 2 settings, so like that kind of thing is what's going on the back end of that. But my my Stream Deck can actually access any of those pages in terms of the way I've built that with the jumps. So if I go to my PTZ cameras, I can select PTZ 1, or I can select PTZ 2, and that's going to just show up on this surface. So this surface is controlling whatever camera I'm selecting, which is that's just the way that I've built that in Companion. So a lot of that comes down to just the way that you might design the Companion pages, so that whether you've got 1 Stream Deck or 2 or 4, I'm not sure if people have tried more than 4 Stream Decks, if that gets a little iffy. But yeah, you could have multiple Stream Decks, and what's nice then is you can actually remote that out to someone. So you could have someone sitting on another computer somewhere else in the studio, and like I've done, what I was saying with the Samsung job before, was I was switching and directing and sort of calling the show, and then I had a camera assistant who was operating 2 to 3 PTZ cameras and also VLC, so they were queuing the playback, so that would be ready to go, and I could just hit it and take it when I needed that. But it's nice because it's scalable too. So you've got this one profile that you could just plug in a single Stream Deck and have access to all of the features. Or, I've got 2 Stream Decks, so I'm using them here because it just enables me to spread it out a bit more. So for example, I can have my switching page if I wanted to like turn on my key here in terms of this other camera. I can do my switching, or I could go straight to program with these keys here. I can change my media pool inputs up here, VLC, playback, cut. And then on this Stream Deck, I could just dedicate that to cameras if I want to sort of focus on finding positions. So where are we? PTZ 2, and if I want to go to, I got some things that were saved here. 3, 4 was like wide shot. This is me sitting here. And then you can do like a slow move up to 5, for example, if I wanted to be like, this is the studio, and this is my auto cue, and this massive light that I've got, and the what do you call it? Multi-view. Put it back onto the repo mode or normal mode to pull up the next one, which is like, this is the auto cue, which is going to go infinity under there. 7 was the audio thing, the live track, and then 8 was, what was that? Multi-view. I do have a shot of the multi-view. There we go. Yeah, bring that back home. So that's how I'm managing 2 different Stream Decks and also the different cameras. Yeah. Can you shed some light on Stream Deck Satellite? Yeah, so I think it used to be called like Companion Remote or something. If you go to, let me go across here, and I'll turn on my key because I can. And I'll hit myself to be up close so you can see me. Okay. Satellite is under, oh God, where do you find that? I think actually within here, surfaces. Actually, if you go surfaces, it's got a link here. It says, do you know you can connect Stream Deck with another computer using, or Raspberry Pi using Companion Satellite? So if I click that, it'll jump over to GitHub, and you can download that. And then I can't really, I've got my own installations set up here, but if you download the Companion Satellite, what I've got is, I guess I've called it Companion Remote. Let me see if this will work. It'll pop up here, and then if I go change host, I could type in my computer IP. At the moment I am, show hide window. So at the moment my network is just running locally on 127. But what I could do is get Companion's server to target the wireless network. So that's my wireless address of my Mac's Wi-Fi, which is 107. And so if I did that, I mean, it doesn't really make any difference. So I could do that. Relaunch GUI. Hang on a second. Launch. Still doing 127. What was it? It was 192.107, I think. No. What am I doing now? 192.168.107. Nope. Oh, okay, sorry. I've got my Wi-Fi off, which I always... So yes, I've got my Wi-Fi off, that's why it's not working. I was like, what am I doing wrong? Just because, you know, it's better to be on Ethernet. So I'm on Ethernet at the moment. So I'm just going to go back to put this on my local host. But what you would do is if your Wi-Fi was on, or wired, I guess, you would go 107. Sorry, I'm just going to go back to this. And I'm back in. Okay. So you would set that to your wireless address, and then under Companion Satellite, it looks very similar here, you would change that to be the address. So it'd be like 107. I'm just going to cancel out of that. But it means that you can then plug in your, okay, so let's say you've got Companion running somewhere on a network and it's set to that wireless address. You would have a second computer or a Pi or something running Companion Satellite. So you've got the Stream Deck plugged via USB into that computer, and that computer is running the Companion Satellite, and that's saying, hey, speak to this address, and this is where to find it, which is this host address that you would type in here. So that's essentially how you can do that. So I could go to, like I've got a Raspberry Pi version, can't even remember the address, I think it's 189. Yeah, okay, so at the moment I'm running off my MacBook Pro, but you can see here, I've also on the network got at .189, I've got a Raspberry Pi running a whole different version of Companion. So this is actually a bit different. I don't have all the same stuff in there. It's got similar stuff in here, and it is connected. So that's why I can see my streaming and recording feedback is running there. But this is actually the whole different one. And then I could under remote, yeah, actually that's what I've got it set up for, is Companion Pi is going to target that that remote one. So does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's go back to graphics. Okay. Martin, I get you're running Companion with a Stream Deck on a Pi, but how are you running H2R? I thought H2R did not work on a Pi. I'm running, so let me see if I can pull up my version 8. Yeah. Hopefully this will work. Okay. I'm running, get rid of this, cut across here. I need to get rid of your comment. You'll see over here it's not even coming in. Oh. This is, the Raspberry Pi is plugged into input 8, and I've got that Chromium browser, which is going full screen on a green screen into there. And then what I've got on, if I cut back to my, yeah, let's just go back to my Stream Deck here. So then you'll see the key 4 is on all the time. So throughout this whole show, key 4 is actually running a chroma key, so that anytime I click on a comment like yours, that'll actually run onto the screen. So what it's doing is under the new version of H2R, you can output, so this is the control page, which is this one. And then the output, I can click on preview, and I could like preview what's going out here. So this is what's going out. Yeah, that's working. Yep, you're seeing the green. And then on output number 1 is this address. So it's H2R is sending it to this address. And if I open that, that's what it looks like. This is the output being sent. And then what I have is, hopefully this will not mess up my graphics, but under VNC, I'm remoting into my, the Pi. And I'm just going to go function F11 to get rid of that. And you'll see the same address here. So in the Raspberry Pi, in a Chromium browser, so this is just a Raspberry Pi, which is also running the companion in the background, but the HDMI port is outputting this look. And this is the address that matches what was back in my H2R graphics. This address here, 1384001. And then, so I'm basically getting that, and I'm going function F11 to go full screen. And I'm moving my mouse away. And then, hopefully I can do this. Okay, and then we go hide. And I'm just going hide, so I'm getting rid of that. So that's just sitting in the background. And then anytime I click on a comment, it'll come on. So the way I've set it up, like the reason I've set it up like this is because it doesn't require another HDMI out of my Mac. It can just be something that's sitting in the rig and is sort of a graphics engine. And then on my Mac, I have the sort of tactile control of being able to look through all these comments and sort of see what's coming up in the queue and then click on that. So as far as I'm aware, I don't think it does, I'll bring myself up here. As far as I'm aware, I don't think it runs on I don't think H2R runs on a Pi, but I'm actually running it on a Mac, and there's a Windows version as well. And I'm sending from the Mac, I'm sending that output channel through the network, and the Raspberry Pi is just picking that up in a web browser and pushing that full screen. So that's the way that the Pi is running at the moment. The downside at the moment, which I'm hoping will get fixed at some point, is you guys are probably aware that the Raspberry Pi is now officially 64-bit system, whereas Chromium is still running on 32-bit. I don't know if that would affect it, but what I've been finding is the Pi is not entirely handling everything with the. This is working now. Before it wasn't. You know, there'll be like some little, yeah, that little glitch out here. Where are we down here? Yeah, there's something about the way it's rendering on the Pi that it's not perfect. But, and all credit to John, just to know that it does work very smoothly on the Mac. So if I was running this output from an HDMI from the Mac, that's the way I would get that going. I just didn't want to run a whole nother HDMI cable because I've already running like 4 cables out of here of the one computer, and I just want to keep it more simple rather than doing a whole nother cable. Okay. What else we got? You're seeing the back end here over my face. I'm going to turn my key off. All right, John says you need to turn off the Stream Deck connection and use Companion. Then you have SDI 1 as the switcher and, Stream Deck 1 as the switcher and Stream Deck 2 running VLC, etc. by a second operator. I think that was a comment. All right, Peter King, question more pressing. What would you recommend for a podcast soundboard and VLC, one from Stream Deck, something else? I mean, I can really only speak to the Zoom Livetrak L8 that I've got on here, which I have I have liked. And cut across here. It's an 8-channel input. What's neat about it is I think it's probably more professionally oriented than some of the Rode products, which are more consumer, prosumer. What's really neat is it runs off the 5-volt power, so I can just plug that straight into the computer and get power in there. So it sort of reduces the number of power cables that you have running around at the back and all the mess of that. And then you've got your computer straight in as well. I've got 6 inputs, and I've got another 4 which are coming from sort of USB or from phone in, that kind of stuff. And then I've got 3 mix outputs. So if you were doing a podcast and you needed to create different mix minuses for different people, that's where you could have their headphone outputs coming out of these 3 different mixes, which works really well just to have that additional functionality. Some of the Zooms that are like the L12 or the L20 have, I think, 5 outputs. So yeah, and then on the back here is a SD card, so you can actually arm all of these channels like that, and hit record, and it'll isolate, record all of these channels as well. So I've just found it really versatile and small enough to, you know, sit on my desk or to go off to a shoot and move around. It's been really neat little mixer. I think it's gone up $100 or something, so it's maybe now like 500 instead of 400. I don't know if that's like supply chain things, but I love this one. I think the only thing I'd want, which is a completely different system, is like auto faders, but that's, you know, that's a whole different ball game. So yes, speed 1, let's come out a bit. Okay. How are the PTZ powered in your setup? PoE, yes, like I mentioned before, I've got a Netgear 8-port PoE hub, which was, I think it's about $120, and it has a power supply of 120 watts, something about that. And each of those ports is putting out 30 watts, something like that, and probably getting about 25, I think, through to the camera on the PoE out. So I've actually got, I don't know if I can really see it here. Maybe I can get my camera right in there. This is going to be a mess. This is going to be a little bit of a spaghetti junction over the back here. But we've got, yeah, this is not going to be a great view. I've actually got a PoE extractor, this thing here. I think that's right, yeah. So that's actually powering, it's taking the PoE out of the hub, and then it's splitting it for the Raspberry Pis, which are just dangling on a thread here because I was just trying to like clean up. So I'm using PoE for, yeah, again, not a great shot because you can't see much going on here, but the PoE is sitting under here, the switch giving PoE power, which is running the router, it's running the 2 cameras, it's running the Magwell NDI converter, which is bringing the NDI signal from the overhead camera back into the ATEM for HDMI out of that. And then it's also running one of the Pis. I've only got 2 extractors, but it's running one of the Pis for getting the power out of the Ethernet line and converting it to USB-C for the Pi. So yeah, PoE is nice. It's cut out a lot of power bricks at the back. I've really only got 2, I think. I've got a that sort of 120 watt power adapter sending it to the switch, which is doing a whole bunch of devices. And then I've got a 12 volt power with a sort of splitter on it, which is also down converting it to 5 volt for some applications. And then that's running a bunch of devices. So I've got really 2 power sources running a lot of this stuff back here, which is just simplified it and less cables. Yeah, Martin has noticed that it's H2R on the Raspberry Pi is rendering shorter comments. Sorry, it renders the larger ones better than the shorter ones, which is kind of weird, isn't it? Yeah. Doug, g'day. Good to have you on board, Doug. Nice to have you here. I'm just got to keep an eye on the time because we are having John coming up in 45 minutes. and make sure that you guys can take a break and then go join John's live stream, because he is got a new studio that he's working on, which has a lot more daylight and space than I do. So I'm excited to see what he's going to be working on with that. Let me have a look at my notes here. What else have I got going on? And I think I covered most things that I was going to talk about. So unless you guys have got any other comments, things that you need answered, then we might wrap up pretty soon. Let me know how it's going. This is my third live stream in this format. I'm trying to play with different setups and different lighting. You'll notice like the first two that I've got, like last week I was using a sort of virtual background, and then this week I've gone to the white, partly just to get it more simple. I was going to get the Aputure spotlight thing happening on the background, but then it was too much rigging and moving that around. But I do have one of those mini spotlights, which is really neat to be able to throw like Venetian blinds or that kind of stuff onto the background. All right, got a couple more questions here. Do you have backup control of cameras if Companion gave up? I do. I've got like I've got the good old trusty remote that comes with the Canon. Makes you feel like you're doing sort of watching TV rather than doing a live stream production. So on here you've got like 4 camera controls, so you can select which camera you want to do. So if I go camera 1, and then I actually really hate this Canon remote. It's like visually and tactilely, it needs to, it just, I've got to really think about like, okay, what am I doing? Zoom, okay, I can zoom in, I can move around, whoa. So yeah, I could move that around, but I haven't had any problems with Companion crashing. I think with Companion, like part of it is making sure you control your network. Let me go back. See how much easier it is on Stream Deck. If you've got, which is before, you know, when I was like trying to put it onto the wireless network, and then I was like, oh wait, I actually have wireless turned off, so I'm only running Ethernet at the moment. Like if you know what your router is doing and you know your network settings, then there's nothing getting in the way. I think where people sometimes get stuck with Companion is like they've set it up for their network, but then they're also got their Wi-Fi connected to like some other network that's in the house. Like, you know, like I've got my own internal router here and I'm in a WeWork space. So if my Wi-Fi was like connected to WeWork, then Companion's like now on the WeWork network and it's trying to like speak to this device that doesn't exist anymore. So I think if you can control that, then that goes a long way to just, you know, getting that very, very simple. But it's a good question, because it's always good to have backups of things. But yeah, it's mostly remote control. And then I've also got in, I guess something I didn't show before was, where are we? Nope, let's go fast over here. I'll see if I can, yeah, this might, we'll see how we go. But if I long press these buttons, the way that I've built it is like, it's actually gonna kill the camera. I'm gonna, yeah, let's give this a go. So I'm gonna long press that, and there you go. Camera 2 has turned off. PTZ 1, okay, PTZ 1 is still operating, so like I could cut across and I'm still on camera 1. I'm gonna cut back across, and if I hold it down again, it's gonna turn back on. Turn that back on. There we go. So that's how long it takes to power down and to power up. And so I've built that into all of these buttons. So if you're just pressing across here, I'm like loading up preview for each camera, and I am seeing the tally lights and that kind of stuff. But if I turn it off, so maybe let's try turning off camera 1 will kill. So I'm going to hold this down and I'll just show. So I'm going to killed camera 1. But if I cut across to camera 2, you can still see that it's So you'll see here, the way I'm designing the colors is that it's sort of like big and highlighted, but it's blacked out to show that the camera source is off. But then this green dot is also showing that it's on preview, so that I can sort of follow the tally as you know, if I was selecting different sources. So the idea here is that if you've got a camera operator and you're switching, so then just say I had a PTZ, I'm on 4 is in preview, and then the switcher goes over to 3, they put that up in preview. I could, as a camera operator, basically follow the green light and I'm jumping into camera 3. I'm going to just, I don't have anything in there, so let's just pretend I went into camera 2, and that's where then I could adjust it. You know, maybe I want to like frame it up a bit more. I actually want to go to, you know, 3, and then that would be ready, and then I could cut or auto and take it from this page if I was doing solo, or if the other person was switching, they could be doing the cuts. Just depends on the way that you want to run that as a team. I am going to cut back to my camera. Wait, let me see. Is that right? No, 3. Oh, wait, that's off. Okay, camera 1. I'm going to pull back to here, and then I'm going to turn back on camera 1 by holding that. If I cut across here, you'll see it's like loading up. So this is different to when you first power on the camera. The PTZ is going to go, it's going to spin around, do a little dance, and then it's going to find the anchor point. So it's going to go to the very far right side, I think it is, and it'll find that point. Then it'll spin back to home, and then it'll go back to whatever the position is that you last had it set in, which is this position. But what I was just doing there was basically, there's still power to the camera, but it's going to, it's just going into standby mode. So if I'm just, like when I come in and power on the studio, everything turns on because it's all running through that hub. But if I want to, if I'm not doing anything on camera, that's where I will kill the power to the cameras and get that, just to, you know, save the camera life on that kind of thing. Cool, we got Jules here as well. Good to have you, Jules. Nice to see you here. Let me know what time works for you two guys. Is 11 a.m. on Mondays good? I'm looking at the long weekend next weekend, and I'm thinking, you know what, I might move that because I like Mondays because I can kind of get straight into the week, and we're sort of done by 12 o'clock, so it's nice to kind of have that, and I just sort of spend Monday morning prepping and then get it done and it's all over, so it's not like something that's hanging around for the week. But with long weekends and stuff coming up, that's probably where I'm more inclined to go skiing than I am to be in the studio. So I might be doing that next week, and I might move this to a, you know, Monday or Tuesday. I guess you can always watch it back, but you know, being able to ask questions is great. So if there's another time during the week, then let me know. Martin says, thanks for a great stream. Thank you. And John loves all the interaction, so thanks for that. Go to web. Thanks for an informative session here with these graphics cut off. Okay, I think that's about it. I'm going to wrap up, and if you have any other questions, type them in the comments below, and like I did with the Mix Minus, I'll try and answer that on next week's stream. I am going to play us out with some of the VLC, sorry, I'm looking at VLC, the video that I had coming in today, which just to remind you to what I have going on with, let's get rid of some of this. The PTZ camera's popping up. Leave page. Here we go. So what I've been doing with these pre-roll videos is basically getting Apple Memories, which just collects some video. So it's like shooting short clips as I go in sequence, making sure that you're not doubling up on takes and that kind of stuff. So you've just got the one sort of this shot, that shot, wide, tight, all that kind of stuff, and then just allowing Apple Memories to create its thing. So in this instance, it auto-created a memory called work, which was this session. I'll just get that going. Give me a sec. VLC, where are we? This one, loop 1. Yeah, I'll fade across here. So yeah, this is something that was auto-created, and I've just been using those as trailers to just kind of lead into what we've been talking about for the week. But that is all good. So thanks you for joining. Thank you for watching on a Valentine's Day. Hope you have a great Valentine's Day and you do something special tonight. But until then, I'll see you next week, and have a great week.
Excellent choice. More laughter is fine.
Okay.
Excellent choice. More laughter is fine.
Okay.